So this will be our fourth continent we're going to visit tonight. I'm so excited. We're going to head to India, and we have Aishwarya Sridhar joining us. She is a 2022 National Geographic Explorer. She's an award-winning wildlife photographer and filmmaker. She's an emerging fellow at the International League of Conservation Photographers, and she's been working towards policy protection for wetlands using the visual medium. And she was recently selected as one of the Explorers Club 50, which celebrates global exploration leaders around the world. So I'm going to bring her in live with us right now. Aishwarya, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, Joe? Thank you so much for the kind introduction.
Oh, of course, and congratulations on the grant with National Geographic. You must be so
Thank
excited.
you. Oh, yes, I really am. Really looking forward to going on the field and working on that project.
Excellent. Well, this is day one of the festival. You're like the headliner at the festival, the headliner in the evening when the big act comes out at the end of the night. So thank you so much for being with us, and I'm going to let you take over for a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joe, for inviting me to be a part of this amazing festival. So I'm going to quickly go ahead and share my screen, and I really hope that works.
I'm sure it will. I know we practiced not too long ago, so I bet
Yeah.
we'll
I
be
hope
good.
you can see the screen, right?
It's loading up. I can see that the share is started. You just have to bring the presentation up to the front.
Can you see it?
Not yet. I still have it. It's still on the. Let me just double check. I'm going to bring it in. Oh, it disappeared. Let's try that share again
Okay.
using the entire screen option. And then, yeah, if you pop the presentation to the front, I think we'll be in business. There we go. Perfect.
I don't know. Why is that happening?
Oh, yeah. There you go. Perfect. We're good.
Perfect?
Yep.
All good? Okay, great. So now I jump into my session for today. So basically, I am from India, a land which most people know as being the second most populous region in the world. Now, there's actually more to India than just slums or people or palaces. It's one of the 17 mega biodiverse regions of the world and home to 8% of the world's recorded species. I grew up in the countryside along the coastline. This is not very far from where I live. And I had wildlife in my own backyard. I was lucky, by the way, and that's one of the reasons why I fell so deeply in love with nature. But on the flip side, coming from a nation which is developing, I also got to witness this constant tussle that exists between ecology and economy. And let me tell you, 99% of the times, it's economy that ends up winning. I saw the landscape literally transform over a decade from lush green to dull gray. Mangroves, natural carbon sinks, got replaced with carbon intensive industries. Wildlife corridors transformed into bustling national highways. And seeing this change, at an early age, I understood the extractive relationship that we humans share with our planet. And I wanted to do something to change that. And that's why I picked up the camera to tell stories that evoke emotions and inspire action, action that leads to concrete change on the ground. Right now, the pressure on our planet is intensifying every single day. I'm sure all of you all know that. And conservation and sustainability need to be the top priority of not just you and me. It has to be of world leaders, of corporates, of policymakers, and people from all across the globe. And that's where actually a storyteller comes in. Using the visual medium, we can really inspire action. It's a very powerful medium, and I'm going to be talking you through today about the power of storytelling and how I have harnessed it in my life over here in India. So there are two main focus areas on which my documentaries are usually based on. I dabble mostly in creating documentaries and clicking impactful photographs. So the first focus area I would say is blue chip natural history. This is all about spectacular images of wildlife in their pristine habitat, or really you get to see a sneak peek into the lives of these majestic creatures. And the second part is human interest and conservation based stories. So, hard hitting films that delve deep into an issue and also present tangible solutions. Through both of these and a combination of them, I want people to feel a reverence towards nature, to care for it, and to protect it fiercely. Now, going into blue chip, when I first started working on my blue chip, I was in college, and I literally had no idea how to do it. Blue chip one is, these are documentaries which are mounted on a grand scale. You have really amazing cinematography of visuals of wildlife, and these are films that entertain, educate, and inspire. They take you into the deepest parts of the jungle and bring out the best of the natural world. Now, when I started, all I had was a vision to bring the life of one of the most enigmatic tigresses from the forests of central India in Taroba. She's named Maya, she's on screen right now. And she's although one of my favorite big cats, but she's also one of the few tigers who have really redefined the word wild, I would say. So I first met Maya when I was 15 in 2012. She and her three siblings were at a waterhole. It was peak summer in central India, and these the four of these subadult cubs were playing, and suddenly you had a giant Indian gaur enter the scene. Now, it's a bovine. They're huge. So compared to a subadult tiger cub, the gaur is almost three times the size. And this big guy, he was a bull. He was weighing over a ton, I would say. And this guy entered. The other three siblings smelt danger and they literally ran off. But not Maya. She stood her ground. And she walked up to the gaur and tried to intimidate him. He realized what she was trying to do and he did a mock charge. And that's when she knew that, oh my god, this big guy is not someone that I should be messing around with. And she scooted. But that moment of courage, of confidence that she displayed really captivated my heart. And there was an unspeakable bond that you can say that I began to share with her. Since then, whenever I've visited Taruba, I've made sure that I actively take time out to track her, to follow her, and photograph and document her journey as such. This started off actually as a passion project, something because I really love big cats. But after a certain point of time, there came an incident where she began to display strategizing abilities like that of a human. And that's when I knew that her story definitely had to be told on celluloid. She was a mother of three cubs, and there was an intruding male that came, and the male splintered her family when she'd gone away on a hunt. And what happened was, after that, when she came back, she found no cubs. So instead of submitting to the dominating male, what she did was she went outside her territory, brought back the father of her cubs, and used him to kick out the intruding male. Now, when this incident played out, I felt as if I was watching a Bollywood masala entertainment movie. Because for a big cat to display such level of thinking and of strategizing is really not documented in the wild before. People perceive big cats to be hardcore predators, carnivores, primal creatures who have innate killing instinct, are not capable of definitely feeling emotions or thinking for that matter. But here she was literally redefining her wild genetics. So I wanted to change that perception of big cats as well in people's minds. And that's why I decided to make a film on her. Now, I portrayed her as a Bengal tigress who was a mother who felt the grief and loss of her cubs when they died for the first time, when she became a mother, or when she decided to train her cubs when they were very young, at about 9 months of age, because she lost her mother as a cub and she didn't want her cubs to remain dependent on her for a long time because you never know what happens in the wild. or for that matter, when she brought back her former mate to overthrow the intruder. So, by portraying her as an individual, as someone who is a survivor, a ruler of one of the largest territories of Tadoba, or even as a mother who would do anything, I mean, literally anything to protect her cubs. I wanted people to really connect with Maya and to root for her and every single point of the story. And took me 6 years actually to put together the film. And finally, the film is airing on Nat Geo Wild right now. It premiered last year during Big Cat Week. So I'd like to show you all an excerpt from the documentary.
Big cats will go to great lengths to claim their territories and prolong their bloodlines. In this next film, made by aspiring young wildlife filmmaker Aishwarya Sridhar, we journey into the heart of India for a powerful portrait of a Bengal tigress that will do anything to protect her family's future. As part of Big Cat Week on Wild, this is Queen of Taru.
Matkasur. He's pushing closer. Following Maya's scent. He's not impressed by the cubs still hanging around. He makes his intentions clear. He wants queen and kingdom. Maya is not aware of the approaching threat. She's off to patrol her territory and get more food for her demanding cubs. She leaves them behind. Matkasur moves in. Bola is the biggest threat. The two female cubs retreat. But Bola has his mother's fighting spirit. Thankfully, it's just a spat. Bola keeps his life, but has to leave. Matkasur achieves his first goal. The cubs are on the run. He makes himself at home. When Maya returns, home is empty. Again. All that's left is the scent of an intruder. Maya's second chance at motherhood was better in some ways, but her plan to keep her bloodline in this kingdom has failed. Again. She's not receptive to this new male. But Matkasur is not one to give up easily. He's already staking his claim to the territory, marking with scent as far as he goes. He chased off the cubs. Half the job is done. Now he has to wait for Maya to accept him. She's aware of Matkasur, but seems neither interested in fighting him off, nor letting him in.
So that was a small sneak peek into Tiger Queen of Tharu. The film really brought about a change in the way people look and see big cats. Now, when we talk about blue chip documentaries and films that are, you have amazing cinematography. You have you give an audience a literally a sneak peek into the animal's world, and by doing so and capturing unusual behavior, you make them kind of fall in love with wildlife. And at the end of the day, when you love something, you would definitely want to protect it. That being said, for blue chip, the next way or another way in which you can light the fire in the bellies of people to do something and make them act is by presenting hard hitting stories of conservation, by digging deep into an environmental issue and then presenting tangible solutions to overcome it. Now, conservation filmmaking and photography is something that I deeply passionate about. Both of them have an innate ability to transcend the psychological barriers that actually exist between an individual and an issue. At the end of the day, we are visual animals, right? I mean, our sense of sight is the most powerful, and we tend to connect a lot with visuals. So, among all the different conservation projects that I've worked on till date, one remains very close to my heart, and that is Panje. It's protecting the last remaining wetlands of Uran. Now, I grew up in Panvel, and Uran is about 30 kilometers away from my house. And in the initial years, that it used to be a birder's paradise. Vast stretches of marshes and mangroves, the air reverberating with bird calls. It was really magical to be there. But over the last decade, I've seen almost the largest tracts of mangroves and marshes and wetlands being taken up for development because Uran got the entire region of Uran was selected to become the hub of a special economic zone way back in about, I think, 2008. So after that, as you can see on screen, the landscape literally changed. And today, all that remains is one wetland, and that is Panje. Panje is about 239 hectares, and it's a beautiful wetland, like all wetlands, which are ubiquitous ecosystems, providing a host of ecosystem services like uh, maintaining the groundwater table, flood control mechanism, a climate change mitigation tool, as well as providing a habitat for incredible biodiversity. Panje is no less. It sees about 200,000 birds, migratory birds, coming in every year during the winter season. And it also supports the local economy with 2,500 fishermen depending on the wetland for their daily income and livelihood. But sadly, Panje is also a prime property in terms of development because it overlooks the Mumbai shoreline, as well as you can see the entire sea from there. So Panje was allocated, despite it being a CRZ1 land, which is Coastal Regulation Zone Level 1, which has the highest level of protection for a coastal land. But despite that status, Panje was allocated to become a residential complex. And construction work was about to begin. So that's when I decided to make a documentary detailing the plight of this wetland. And the documentary aired on DD National, which is India's public broadcaster. And once the film became viral, I took a couple of media spokesperson there to just showcase the wetland and to do a media story as such. And what we discovered was shocking because the entire wetland had completely dried up. It was bone dry. What looked like the top picture during the peak of summers had turned to look like this. The bottom picture, completely dry after monsoons in October. Now, this was really something which is shocking. So, investigations revealed that a dam with 71 sluice gates had been built at the main inlet of the tidal waters. Now, these sluice gates operated in such a way that during high tide they shut, which meant that water could never enter Panjay, but during low tide they opened, which led to all the water that was still standing at Panjay to recede out of the wetland. And finally, the wetland dried up. Now, this was definitely a way to destroy the biodiversity, to kill the wetland, and construction to start. So I clicked pictures with GPS data of the sluice gate of the dry wetland, and I sent them to all the authorities, filed complaints. I submitted them as proof to a couple of litigations that were filed by some non governmental organizations at the Bombay High Court. And finally, after about 2 weeks of a struggle, the High Court ruled in our favor and they opened the gates and the Panjay wetland was restored. But this was a very small battle that was won in a long-standing war, because I've been associated with this campaign for a couple of years now. My role has largely been to collect photographic evidence and give it for litigation to support that. And during these years, I've had to work undercover. I've worked with local government organizations, with the state government, with NGOs, with the local fishing community, as well as the media. And together with all of us contributing our bit, we've built a campaign to protect the Panjay wetlands. But once these pictures went viral and a lot of media attention fell on Panjay, what happened was the developmental agency, they installed illegal security cabins, as you can see on screen. And these people literally stopped us, all photographers, researchers, and even birding enthusiasts from entering the wetland, because they realized that with the camera and with the technology improving, you can actually click GPS tagged photographs. And that was proving to be very detrimental for them, because these photographs could act as proof in the High Court and for any litigation for that matter. And even when I went there after this security cabins were installed, these people threatened me, they've abused me. I've also been threatened with dire consequences if I continue working for it. But these that never actually dampened my spirits, because I wanted to truly protect this wetland. This is a wetland that I have grown up at. I have some wonderful memories with my father birding there. So I really didn't want to lose all of that. And this is such a thriving ecosystem, not just for the biodiversity, but also for the local fishing community. And there's been multiple incidences after that. Firecrackers have been burst at Panjay to scare away the birds. Mangroves have been hacked mercilessly by these security guards. And every time we've filed with photographic proof. And finally, in 2022, victory came in the form of the National Green Tribunal upholding the status of Panjay as a wetland and dismissing the developmental authorities and telling them that all illegal activities have to stop, the land has to be protected, and the security cabins have to be removed. Not just that, another victory came in the form of the National Wetland Decadal Change Atlas, which is prepared by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, that listed Panjay as a wetland of importance and a wetland on the Central Asian Flyway that requires protection. And finally, now the pressure on the state government is very, very high to declare Panjay as a bird sanctuary. And I really hope that the verdict comes very soon. And the wetland is not just protected for its biodiversity, but also for the fishing community who really depend on this piece of land for their income. So, this entire campaign, I would say a large part of the success came from the photographs. They acted as a catalyst in getting the attention on the issue and as well as allowing, like, kind of inspiring the government to act quickly, because otherwise it takes a really long time for litigations to be heard and given a verdict in India. That said, photographs cannot be ignored. The visual medium is too strong for that. The storytelling has the capacity to not just bring about environmental conservation at the grassroots level, but also it can bring about environmental protection at the highest policy level. So I feel together, uh, with all the people across the globe, each one of us, if we decide to put our heart and soul into it through photographs and through films, we can make this world a better place, a greener and a more sustainable world. That's it. I think, yeah, that's. Thank you so much, Joe, for inviting me.
All right. Aishwarya, thank you so much for that great presentation. And that clip you shared from the movie was just incredible.
Thank
And
you.
that's actually where I want to start is 6 years. Wow, that is a huge commitment to bringing that story to life, bringing it together. What keeps you going? Because I know there's probably days, maybe even weeks, where you can be out in the field and you don't get any good footage. What keeps you going?
uh, I, I would say every time I am in nature, that kind of really charges me up. Each moment that I spend, there's something new to film. Not necessarily that I see the big cat or the subject of my documentary, but there could be other moments with other animals or even with plants or anything. Being in nature, that kind of gives you a sneak peek into the world as a storyteller when you're that close, and that really gives you time to think about your work, and also to it's just cathartic, I would say. So that's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
I know it's
All right.
frustrating because there have been days, especially on a recent shoot of mine, where we were at it for about 3 months continuously, wanting to click a particular behavior of a big cat, but that just didn't happen. I mean, luck wasn't on our side.
Mhm.
But we also got to witness a lot of other moments which were otherwise not visible to other people. And kind of the story compensates that way then.
Okay. And then you talked about those two types of films, the blue chip and the human interest, the conservation. Do you lean more towards one or the other?
No, actually not. I try to maintain a balance between both,
Mhm.
because both of them are different means, different vehicles of hitting different audiences. And through that, you can achieve impact at different levels using both these mediums, using both the type of films. So, yeah, I try to maintain a balance between both.
All right. Let's grab a question here from YouTube. Have you ever thought about, or do you use drones to try and document some of that, maybe illegal activity?
Using drones, I've not thought about documenting illegal activity till now, because at Panje, drone flying is prohibited because it's close to the JNPT airport,
Yeah.
the JNPT port, and it's a little dicey place to actually fly a drone, because there's a lot of navy attention, there is the port authorities attention. So you can, if caught, I'll end up in jail for something which I'm trying to do for a greater good.
Sure.
So I haven't thought about flying drones yet for that, but for another project of mine that's coming up, yes, definitely flying drones is on the question for capturing the illegal activity.
All right. So I know that when you're in the wild and you're filming, you get attached to subjects or you get attached to a story, and sometimes there might be that urge to intervene. Sometimes is that something you've ever felt and had to push down?
Yes, I have, because especially while filming Maya, there was a time when there was another, so Matkasur's litter from another female. That male cub that entered Maya's territory, and we were filming Maya, and Maya had two small cubs, a third litter. She'd already lost her first. The second one, yes, she rejoined with them and they split up. But the third litter was very small cubs, and we had just got an intimate moment with Maya and her two cubs. And then we see this huge male walking, and the cubs coming on the road and crying and fleeing the area. And then Maya confronts with this male.
Mhm.
And that time Matkasur was nowhere around. And this litter was from Matkasur. Her third litter, she mated with him. And at that point, I was literally in tears because I was seeing these two small cubs crying for their mother. The mother's fighting an intruder off who's almost twice her size. We don't know what will happen, whether she'll be grievously injured or not. And you have these little tiny ones crying on the road next to the vehicle. That was a heart wrenching moment. I
Absolutely.
really felt if I had the power, maybe I could go ahead and, break that fight off. But at the end of the day, that's nature.
Hmm.
That's the law of the jungle.
Yep.
So you really can't intervene in that. So that
Yeah.
urge to, that conflict, yes, definitely does arise. But it's something you have to work on in the field.
All right. So as a woman in your field, are there any challenges or issues that you find yourself overcoming or dealing with?
Yes, I do. I do find a lot of issues, especially when it comes to filming in areas where there's a lot of perception that women are only meant to be running the households and not be doing a field job. So I've come across sexism. I've come across people telling men, especially telling me that, oh, you're a girl, you shouldn't be doing all this. Go back to your house and learn to cook or manage do a desk job. And even on the field, when I'm working with other male colleagues, some of them are very open, but a few of them I have come across people who don't want to take orders or don't want to listen to my creative perspective. For them, they feel that as guys we already know how this is done. You're a girl, so your knowledge on this subject is not as much as what I have. And
Yeah.
they're not even willing to lend a ear to my suggestions or my opinions. So yeah, that sometimes does hurt, that just because of your gender you're judged.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. And I think you're definitely proving them wrong with what you've been doing and the success you've been having. And you pave the way for a future generation of female filmmakers, and you're inspirational. So
I
it's
hope so. I really hope so.
absolutely, it's awesome what you're doing. It's amazing. Uh,
Thank you so much for giving me a chance to present my work at this amazing festival.
Absolutely, Aishwarya. It was an absolute pleasure to have you join us for the first time this year,
Yes.
and we can't wait to to continue following your work.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I really wish the best of luck for this festival. I hope it becomes a grand success.